Well, I can't say it's a huge surprise, but Kier Starmer has surrendered to the European Union on free movement. We know that he is desperate to get Britain back into the EU through the back door. This video goes through precisely what's happened. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe, but more importantly, hit the bell notification icon. It's the best way to absolutely guarantee you get all my videos as soon as they are released. Emphatic. Okay, so the European Union, as you remember, when we voted to leave the European Union, they said that they wanted the following. First of all, they wanted all EU nationals in the United Kingdom to be first-class citizens, and Britons instead would be second-class citizens. That is to say, that the rights of EU citizens in the UK would be enforced by the European Court, and it could overrule the United Kingdom's courts in matters relating to those citizens, effectively creating a aristocracy of the Europeans in Britain. Next, they wanted the annexation of Northern Ireland. They wanted £45 billion in cash. They wanted the surrender of British territorial waters. They wanted free movement to continue into the United Kingdom, and they wanted Britain to be regulatory aligned with them, which meant that when they brought in a new rule on economics, the United Kingdom would be automatically required to adopt it. This is something that would be Britain's Treaty of Versailles, if you like. It would be the sort of punitive deal that would be signed by a country that had been defeated. Why the United Kingdom ever considered it, I've got absolutely no idea whatsoever. Absolute nutters. Anyway, the United Kingdom now is desperate, or at least the political leadership is desperate to get us back into the European Union. And here's what they're doing. On this regulatory alignment, they're adopting all of the EU's economic policies. And then what they're going to do in the fullness of time is go, well, we implement all their law anyway. We might as well be in the room when those laws are decided. Of course, that gives us a major problem because it massively undermines Brexit, because not only do we bring in all the red tape from the EU, which costs an absolute fortune, but we add our own red tape on top of it, which means that there can be no benefit from Brexit as a result. Now, what we've also done deliberately as a country is ensured that our immigration policy is a complete shambles. That's so we're able to say that the immigration problems caused by the EU actually were nothing compared to the problems outside it. And by the way, the people who claim that leaving the EU has made immigration harder, not worse, harder, that can't possibly be true because fewer people are entitled to come to the UK. Well, the reason I say harder as opposed to worse is clearly the immigration problem has got worse, but it's not got harder. What we are doing is deliberately letting people in order to discredit our immigration system, and it's going to get worse. By the way, somebody had a go at me in my live stream earlier because I said I personally had no problem with free movement. Let me explain that to you before you all start kicking off. Look, I don't particularly mind the idea of free movement across Europe. What I wanted was to ensure that there was those temporary blockages on places like Romania and Poland until they started becoming wealthy enough that they weren't all going to stream to the UK. However, I accept that one of the main reasons that people voted to leave the European Union was immigration. And I'm a Democrat. I support your democratic right to make that decision. I voted to leave the European Union purely on sovereignty grounds. But okay, fair enough. So I say now that we can't have free movement back because you voted to get rid of it. And your vote ought to be respected. And by the way, you voted us out of the EU supporting my sovereignty issue. So I support your immigration issue. No harm in that, is there? But the EU wants under 30s to have free movement. Now, the reason they want under 30s is because in practice, those were the people principally who tended to move anyway. Therefore, they return free movement in all but name. And of course, once again, it will open the floodgates for people to come to the United Kingdom. And remember, you know, you can get a work visa for the United Kingdom. EU nationals can holiday here for up to, I think, 6 months at a time. So it's not particularly difficult. But what upsets me is the way that our British political elite constantly pander to Europe, constantly decide that the needs of the EU should be prioritised over the needs of Britain. Let me give you a good example. The United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland have a treaty to say there will be no hard border in Northern Ireland. Got it? Yeah. Now, the Irish Republic has a treaty with the EU about its border, but that's got nothing to do with Britain when we leave the European Union. And yet we were the people who were required to fix the problem. So effectively, what the Irish and what the EU said was, we want a hard border. You've got to come up with a way of stopping it. Well, my way of stopping it would be, we're going to enforce the treaty that says you can't build the thing. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to get a big truck and a digger and just knock it down, which would be our perfect legal right to do it. But I worry, because it's not just about this free movement for under 30s. It's about the direction of travel. What we are constantly being force-fed in this country is, hey ho, well, Brexit didn't really work. It was a mistake. We're all poorer. Immigration's worse. Everything's terrible. Let's go back into the EU. Let's return to daddy. I guarantee you the EU is a terrible institution, and we were absolutely right to leave it. And I think that we need to always remember that. And I think that it's time to sweep away the political elite in Britain. The idea that what we should be doing is negotiating with the EU, the reason is that people have moved on. You know, you don't go into your average alehouse now and listen to people bleating on about Brexit. They're more interested in things like inflation, they're more interested in Ukraine, they're more interested in taking back democracy, they're more interested in political prisoners, they're more interested in non-crime hate incidents, an attempt to shut down genuine political debate by the police. Those are the issues that are important to Britain. Yet this cabal of North London lawyers, to them what's important is ensuring that Britain gets back into the EU, because that was their moment, wasn't it? They absolutely loved being part of the European Union because they could get on the gravy train. I remember when I was an employee at the European Parliament, I was told to report on the first day in Tower E. And it was on the, I think, the 14th floor. So I thought, well, hang on a second. If there's a Tower E, there must be a Tower A, Tower B, Tower C, Tower D, and of course Tower E. So there's got to be at least 5 towers, and they must be all the same height. And if I'm on the 14th floor, they must be all 14-storey at least towers. My God, the waste, the stupidity. I remember once I was on my floor when I worked at the European Parliament, and a pallet load of silk ties arrived. And they said they're promotional materials, genuine silk ties, thousands of them. And what you did was you filled up your bags and went back to the United Kingdom and gave them to your mates. And it was all paid for on the taxpayer. It's absolutely disgraceful. The EU is not a good institution. It's not a democratic institution. And I have to say, what it's done in Ukraine has been genuinely despicable. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe, hit the bell notification icon. It's the best way to absolutely guarantee you get all my videos as soon as they are released. Until next time, goodbye.